I guess I'm just gonna hit record. So I'm streaming. I'm recording, I'm thinking about some stuff that I figured I should hit record. I was looking into this paper that just came out recently about I was, the concept of a wormhole. I think just my first impression was that it had basis by just listening to some of the people talking. And I think there is, but I've come to realize that it's certainly in like a anti-de Sitter space on a quantum computer, some specifics that make it a little more like I thought that I would just look around maybe and think about it in view of the things that I've been talking about, which are really this map and its relationship to being basically caused by currents. When the Earth expanded, when it was a single landmass that was a smaller radius, and the mantle was punctured by a vortex storm that brought ether from space with such quantity down to the mantle moho boundary and punctured it, that it then filled the earth and flowed mantle out until the continents experienced stress between them because of the ways that the current flowed, because essentially the current just started to flow underneath the surface, but then it started to like interact with itself. It flowed from a point that on a rotating globe, I believe essentially caused it to generally come back, like to flow generally eastward, propagating by going this way. Also down here, it goes down here, so it continues west largely, but then it also continues east largely in a way where like they collide over here along the boundary of North America and Australia, atoll, Southeast Asia, Asia, where basically where they collide, it flows out and fills this region alone. But between Australia and Asia and like up here basically, and North America, where like essentially right here going up this way is going up here, and then it goes underneath Australia because the current comes in right here and splits up this way and goes down this way. So this one goes up this way and generally fills here, whereas this one is actually, I believe, going physically into this region, so it continues pretty much. It doesn't get deflected off as much, so it just cuts through and shapes over in Australia, which is actually positioned here at the time, and it like left behind its effects, maybe, where this is here, perhaps. If this is here, then like down below it, here, down below it, like around here, is this system. Which is where a current from, instead of going, essentially the current from the mantle puncture hole goes out in all directions, but then it begins to turn into like cardinal directions more so. So then it has a east-west propagation of currents, and then also a north-south propagation, although the north one really doesn't go that far. It kind of runs into resistance from the westward propagating currents, or maybe even from here. Both, actually. The currents that go up to the North Pole end up wrapping into up here and flowing this way and colliding down here from up across here, basically. Across here. And then cutting this way. And then dividing and producing a boundary here. So here's the mantle puncture hole. Then it has a current go this way. Kind of up here, meeting resistance generally, but filling like a region of space above it because of the upward current that just can only go so far. And then the southward current, though, goes basically along the boundary of Africa here, down through Africa, through southern South America, like the very narrow segment, through Antarctica, through here, and out here into the southeastern tip of Australia. So there's 3 currents coming generally into this region. 1, 2, and then also the 3rd going eastward. And then this one splits up over it and around it, down into Australia through it. This is incredible. So I was thinking, like, maybe there's some tunneling type, if there's anywhere on Earth besides, like, the mantle puncture hole. I was thinking, where might we see tunneling on, like, this kind of way? And maybe here, where the mantle was punctured, and then it, like, flowed a mantle out in some way from some mysterious inner location that maybe had, like, a source, like, system that's like a alternatives, like it's got basically a boundary point, and then it takes from below, brings it upward, and then creates like a anti below, but then the same structure above. Which happened to Mount Girnar, where it's basically was a mountain emitted from the center of the Earth in this process, basically. As crazy as that sounds, that's what happened. When the Earth expanded, this mantle puncture hole that emitted all this mantle plugged up as it slowed down and cooled off enough to actually solidify a plug, but then it just kind of like continued through a thread into here that just filled the Deccan Traps region into being, while the vortex storm was present, shaping the region. But the mantle puncture hole really threads through to Girnar as sort of like a conduit through. I do believe, pardon me for just saying things like that, based on my extensive research, I'm just going to casually say that, and that's that. Okay. So, which is visible, especially in my Girnar. These ones, all of these. So kind of there's some tunneling there, like for sure the Girnar quantum tunneled from the core of the Earth to the surface of the Earth. A mountain was tunneled, according to all references that speak of it as Mount Meru. It tunneled through the Earth because of the expansion process. Mount Meru. Sacred Five-Peaked Mountain. Girnars. Although it has more than 5 peaks, it's like... I've heard it described with 5 peaks. Bonjour. Ça va? I just feel like I need to explain myself for no reason. People are judging the words I say and stopping listening by their own choice. Oh no. But I was thinking in more recent research, going from the absurdity I just said to more recent absurdities of the sphere of Hawaii that was forming in these currents that were colliding. One current here, one current here, this little region here, a third current coming from over this way, I believe in through here before this was filled, like generally this way. Or did it? Or was it just 2? Because I feel like this flow goes this way and this way, but then there's a boundary here that's kind of suggestive that goes this way, which then would kind of imply that a current coming across here actually made it to go through into India when they were closer. Because nothing's really going through here. Once it expands, it's pretty much like something was there more closely interacting with it. I think it was more closely interacting with this side, even though it was up here ish somewhere. It's so hard to say with the Pacific. Not very, what's the word? Encouraging. I can't even position Australia in my head right now to be like, okay, the current, was there a third current? It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to figure it out on the fly. Was there a third current for certain here? For certain, there was a current here that went this way, and generally went through here, through this way, before it, like, moved. And then there was, for certain, a second current that I guess, like, ran into resistance here. Why was it running into so much resistance here? Unless this point right here... I really need to close some tabs, I guess. One second. Unless... Okay, here was Papua New Guinea. This was one of the connection points. Oh my god. Papua New Guinea was here. And then Australia was basically to here. which kind of came into to here. So Australia was adjacent to this inlet. So if we look over here, there's this region here, this inlet, where basically the currents flowing through the earth punctured a set. Once the mantle was punctured and began to, the moho was punctured, the boundary, the rind between the layers, it was then the mantle was able to freely move upward, and because space was being pushed in by this vortex storm, opening space, like room and like space pushed on space, so it got pushed in. It flowed into the earth and caused the earth to swell, but then like at some point it punctured, the currents punctured the earth again, but not just the storm, but the currents of mantle flowing, and that caused a secondary puncture hole right at this location, where it was basically fanning out in a flame. So we see like a flame structure under South America that then connected to, when it was connected, everything was connected at the time. So when it was connected, it then fanned out and went over into the heart of Africa here, through this region, around it. So maybe it's actually what's happening is more a current's coming down this way, it wraps around into Yellowstone, while the secondary current is coming generally around from, like it comes around this way. So it's this current coming around this way, but then it also maybe essentially goes up this way and around this way to wrap around the North Pole, North America, and basically create like two arm segments, like the lava. I've been talking about lava. This one. The way this flowed. I'll probably talk about it in the next video after this one too. Almost assuredly. Yeah. These two. So there's two like bands wrapping around in here. Whether it be coming this way or not is unclear. What happens with that? It goes up here, goes around. I guess it just comes up here, interacts with this flow, producing a pole up here, but then the currents generally merge maybe out of it. Out of the interaction up here, they like this current merges with that current, produces here, and then flows some over here, some over here. Two arms, two spiral arms off of the like galactic node. And then over here, though, it runs over right here. Here. Around. Wrapping around what was once Laurentia. And accreting new continental shelf by just the sheer amount of currents that then produced a overlayer of a surface and sufficient elevation of just material deposited in this region to actually be relatively new accreted continental shelf, basically, and be stable. So maybe this particle of Hawaii, the sphere of Hawaii, was actually maybe forming here and not here? Whoa, so maybe like, so the first current, this current here, coming across this way, while Australia at the time was physically atop this oceanic crust, it just moved. It just slid over here because the Earth expanded rapidly and it physically just caused it to slide off. Spread off, I'm not sure if slide off. Slide might imply there be some sliding evidence, although maybe that's going on and it's... I don't know if there's something of that nature. It may just have like physically opened pretty much. Like this was all newly formed. But it's certainly moved away from it somehow. Like it should be on top of... Should be on top of it because it was over there. As well as down here. Like it was this whole stretch. It just like across time it moved. Down here. Huh. So my thoughts are, what if there's a general current here? It might be good to open Photoshop and draw this, but I really don't know if my computer can handle this right now. Generally a current coming in from the top, and then creating like a... I'm pretty sure there's a third current. It's so hard to tell some places what's going on. Like the mantle puncture hole, I'm like, okay, that's the mantle puncture hole, current flowed away from it in all directions. And since I established that, it has not changed. But like the direction of currents have changed and things that I'm like, not so sure about. Certainly Australia is like very complex because it's pretty much like where the currents recollided in some ways. A lot's going on. Where it produces an ammonite here. But then there's a secondary current that comes across it, and I guess over time builds up a wall of resistance that then leads it to be more over here. Maybe it just physically is caused to flow out this way into... I don't know how that makes sense. Wait. I feel pretty good about the concept that this chunk here of Central America is attached right here. Here to here. And then also back here because it was actually here. This was here, it was here. So we've got basically North America like right here relatively to South America, like actually down attached. So Australia can't really be attached quite there. So it gives me this impression that maybe what's happening is there's Australia here, generally, like up to a point. Wait a minute. Yeah. Australia. Wait, okay, let's bring this down here mentally. So this is here. Pretty much here is here, but is also here. So Australia, this is actually more so occurring like here relative to this position. So Australia was maybe like here. So what I'm getting at is maybe because there's a current coming down this way, it continues down this way past this current through this region and into South America, where it then fans out because it's got into this opening where it can fan out. But then underneath it is this other current coming up this way through Australia, running into the other current coming underneath North America, underneath Mexico, into this location that goes under Australia. So it runs into that. And so what does it do? It turns because it meets this resistance, runs into it, turns, basically starts to build this wall and produce like a deflection point. But as it does that, it then runs into resistance again, probably right here around this region. Do we see like distinct like boundary? Like over here it's so distinct, it's like there was some currents. But then like over this way, if that's the case where there's a current this way and then there's a current cutting this way, and they're just colliding initially, but over time they start to build a shape where there's generally like a eddy, a current going on here, because this current's going this way and then this current's going this way, so it kind of goes in and out, in and out, in with it, out, in with it, out, and creates basically an eddy here that produces a shape of basically a circle initially, generally a uniform circle that then begins to have more defined shape to it until it like basically builds a wall where the currents are most able to, which is over here. But in the process, like this current's still flowing, so it's still flowing like into that, so it still carves through the wall that it's forming here to allow for a channel to go through, which then again really defines this like ammonite shape instead of just being like an undefined circle type shape. This current comes through it, enters into this like thickness of the outer shell of the ammonite structure, at least here, gets through it and then it reaches a boundary that's over on the other side, kind of meets resistance, bends back, goes out with it as well, but bends back. And while it's doing that, it's producing all these like ammonite type expansion centers that really push out the boundaries of the material around them. And then it basically shoots this material out here, out of this thing. Out of this thing comes the like a sphere's material? Out of this thing for sure comes material. And it then exits this way. And kind of gets in this current again. So maybe... which then runs into this current. So maybe it like produced Hawaii like more here. The sphere of Hawaii. Oh my god. I don't think that's true, but I'm thinking maybe there's like a tunneling type thing, some type of quantum entanglement where over here is where Hawaii was produced. And then over on the other side, which is down, pretty much down, so this is like, this is here, this is over here-ish. So really, like, over, probably right there-ish is about where, when this was here, and then attached to, when they were attached, basically, to South America, North America was. This point was generally over here relative to here, and maybe plays into that thing being there. So, okay, I don't know at this point, but just the idea that maybe there's quantum entanglements between the two, like Yellowstone and Hawaii, which I think formed, and maybe this quantumly entangled to here somehow, Fiji and Australia. And then also Fiji and Hawaii. Also, this kind of makes me think of quantum entanglement or quantum tunneling and wormhole. Like this very thin. What I was thinking about wormhole and that kind of concept when I was thinking about if there's any like merit to this new research that's been popping around with wormholes. Was kind of thinking like, well, it pretty much is like a volcano. Taking something from an under layer and bringing it to a different layer through some sort of channel that basically, because of this shape of the channel being like a narrow channel, the flow is fast, so it kind of like tunnels through quickly in a way. So it's kind of like a tunneling. So maybe this is related by having this just like fine threaded channel of flow that occurred. Okay, I don't know. That's all I got for now. Maybe. Could Hawaii have formed here? There's so many possibilities for things. This was here. Like, to me, this was here going on here. Probably here. Maybe all of them, like, as Australia moved, maybe it moved in ways where it moved relative to, like, this point. Kind of like, I don't know, somehow moving and creating these lines in the process with the way some focus of energies of the currents was happening. Looks like a handbag. I was just watching. Maybe I could find it. DTTV documentaries. Ancient handbag symbol. Its importance is much bigger than we can imagine. There. It's kind of got that look. I wish I could do some cool stuff with this. Just like trying to feel it at pressure point or sensitive current flow focal points on my hand fingerprints. No, I don't know. Sometimes I'll feel something just be like, was that it? That's going on sometimes. trying to do this, like put them together. I'm like, what if these are like there's like gods in here? I'm just like, just tapping the terminals together, do something. Can I feel that? What if I do like this? If I put it in my hands, put them in my hands like this, as like on the eye, on the palm, facing inward, maybe as like terminals relative to the eyes on my palms. Do I feel anything then? Maybe if I hold one in my left hand, the other. See, this one's got a handbag. Maybe the other one's more like. I was wondering, maybe they, even if they wear something of this nature, maybe they need to not be like open. They're cool open, but they're useful when they still have ether energy with them in them. Or maybe, I don't know. Sorry, guys. This also has the Birdman. Where's the Birdman? Birdman's all throughout this. He's one of. There he is. Birdman. These like wrist and things are very reminiscent of shallygrams also. Although they look more flower-like, but I mean, so I was like, maybe like this. Maybe I need like a band, like a gold conduit band to conduct ether. The things I think about. The things I think about. But it does kind of look like a handbag. Back to that. It's got this real, like, sturdy top thing, and then this strap. This kind of open space. And kind of like a bag. So is there somehow quantum entanglement and wormholes were involved in this? In a way where like one is is literally the opposite of the other. Like in order for this to occur, it requires like a separator and a opposite of like this. In order for Yellowstone plus Hawaii, so like big volcano, small island, plus small volcano or super volcanoes, maybe these volcanoes, big island. Like these ones maybe weren't as super volcano-y as yellow super volcano. Yellowstone, yellow. I don't know. Largest supervolcano. One of the largest. Let's see. Supervolcano is classified as a volcano with an eruption magnitude of 8, the largest value on the volcanic explosivity index. Volume of deposits greater than 1,000 cubic kilometers. Oh my god. Oh god. Supervolcanoes occur when magma in the mantle rises into the crust and is unable to break through a fissure or vent. Over time, immense pressures start to accumulate in a growing magma pool until it explodes through the crust violently. Okay, let's find the biggest ones. Southwestern Colorado is a large supervolcano caldera, Garita. 40 to 18 million years radiometric dating. Massive eruptions, 28 million radiometric dating. Let's find that. San Juan Mountains, Garita. Maybe that will work. There we go. Okay. 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 Lake Toba, North Sumatra. Whoa. This one, 75,000 plus or minus. Very recent. Very recent. Siraguacha. Andes. Okay, Andes. That one makes a lot of sense if it's right here, because that's pretty much right. Actually, I was thinking here. That's... just above here. Maybe just because of this thing, it like a stream got deflected, like upward instead of across in some way. Or maybe this actually was like a blockage from currents coming this way and this way, like here. Because I think here is kind of where they switch, like they start coming across here. More so. And up here, they're still kind of coming this way, but there's this boundary here where they're kind of just running into each other. So maybe that produces more of a backstop in this region that leads to an upwelling here. Which was pretty recent when Yellowstone... 2.1, 1.3, 6 630,000. Largest. Next big. Lake Twapo on New Zealand's North Island. Okay. New Zealand's North Island. I guess here. Yep. That's a super volcano. Which is really where these currents were going. Some currents. There's a bunch of currents involved here. Something here. They pretty much... Maybe it went this way and started to go through here. Channel down through the newly forming region and just caused it to collapse. Went through it. Ran into a cross current here. Produced this upwelling of a substantial point where we call it a supervolcano. Caldera was active. Argentina. Wow. If there's this type of ones, there's so many we're missing one. Crazy. Island Park Caldera crosses the borders of Idaho and Wyoming. One of the world's largest. Let's just say. Here we go. Size. Chile, Bolivia. Argentina. They're like a... Where's Yellowstone? 85 by 45. Okay, so they're not in order of size. Toba's pretty comparable. La Garita. So it is probably the largest on here. According to that list. So it is pretty large. It's a fucking super volcano, dude. Yeah, no shit. Crosses the border. Okay, let's look at this one. Island Park. Giuseppe. Oh, okay. So it's pretty much Yellowstone. First phase Yellowstone, that's this. Alabama, Argentina. Argentina, Chile. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on in the Andes that's pretty much super volcano caliber, apparently. Bolivia. Pastis Grandes. Maybe. It's pretty much in this region. This whole region, I guess, is just pretty super volcano-like. Okay. Yellowstone is certainly unique in a lot of ways. In this formation process, these are more just from like focus currents for a while. Same over here. They're all focus currents. Currents that were focusing in that location for an extended period of time that couldn't really escape. But in this case, though, it's flowed this way. It's probably actually related to here. Where's that? Because it wasn't the one in the Indonesian archipelago. It's over here. It's pretty much there's a current flowing here that maybe goes along this boundary, along this boundary, along this boundary, along this boundary. And maybe to there. I mean, it certainly goes along this boundary right here between, because it caused a current flowing up the coast that was reflecting this way off of the coast and just basically funneling a current down the coast that's kind of like opening a channel. It just pushes like some of this material out, opens a channel, digs underneath, but then flows over beyond this way. And maybe it kind of, if anywhere, I would say it goes more here, honestly, like to right here. But maybe it has some effect here too. There does seem to be something there, so maybe, is there one here too? What's there? There's really nothing that I'm aware of. Maybe this. Something. No. I don't know. Let's see. Krakatoa. Where's Krakatoa? Right there, pretty much. I need by like magnitude or something. Oh my god, the thing is formed in the presence of water along the west coast of the United States, probably. This region. That's why this is so volcanic. Presence of water really is essential. Maybe I can just go to... the Wikipedia. I feel like I saw Wikipedia. Last eruption. Doesn't have like a volume. Krakatoa's erupting ongoing. There's gotta be a list of more specifics. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right then. All right, peace out.